You see that sunshine outside? It's been basically spring-like weather for the last couple of weeks. I've been going outside with my daughter every day with my coffee and my knitting, and we've been letting the chickens out of the coop, been letting them have the grass in our lawn, and just for a couple hours every day. And we've been getting some projects done sort of in anticipation for spring. We had this giant dead tree in our backyard. It's a poplar. And we've been putting it off, and finally this year we were like, we really need to get that thing cut down. It's a hazard for our house and our neighbors' houses. So we called a bunch of tree companies, and several of them were like, we're not going to climb that, it's not safe enough. But there's this one guy that we found who was, I guess he's the guy that they call for high risk trees. And he was like, oh yeah, I got that, no problem. I was terrified the whole time he was up there. Sorry, my husband and my daughter just came in from being outside because we're potty training. And anyway, this guy came down and cut down the tree, and it was awesome and totally frightening. And as a result, we have a completely different backyard. Like, it's amazing how much a tree can kind of change the landscape. So I am looking forward to redesigning our backyard garden. I'm really, really looking forward to that. But before we start gardening, we have a couple other things that we've been trying to do. So my husband has taken a few days off this week so he can redo the bottom of our deck because it was looking pretty bad. And also we have a really hideous air conditioning unit out there that's just like right in the middle of everything. The previous owners, I don't know why they didn't think to put it on the side of the house where nobody goes, but yeah, it's right there in the back. So he is putting like a wood box around it with like a lattice top. As far as what else is new, I just want to say thank you to everybody who has come and joined the Ravelry group. I think we're over 300 members now, which is really, really cool. I'm so excited. I have an intro thread, and I just keep, to anyone who comes and says hi, I'm just like, hi! I don't know forum etiquette, so you'll have to excuse me if I'm spamming, but I am just really excited to meet all of you and kind of put some faces to your names, and it's really, really cool. So I was thinking, now that I have the Ravelry group set up, and because I've really just am so grateful that so many of you have wanted to kind of take part and have made this experience so wonderful for me, I thought it'd be really fun just to do a thank you giveaway. So I'll talk about that at the end of the video. So my first and my only finished object this week is a pair of socks. I was gonna knit a vanilla pair of socks, but I decided to change it up a little bit, and the previous pair of socks I finished was a pair of blueberry waffle socks from my friend. I showed that in the last episode. So I just decided I would go ahead and use that same stitch pattern for this pair. And this is my first pair of socks for the Box of Socks knit along, which I'm sort of unofficially joining. And I've worn these, and they're so comfortable, so cozy. I kind of have a sock recipe where I do I cast on 64 stitches, and I knit 20 rows for the cuff, usually 1 by 1, sometimes 2 by 2. I did a short row heel, but this time I decided to kind of experiment with garter instead of stockinette heel. For my particular foot situation, this garter heel really works a lot better. It, I don't know, it fits better, it's kind of squishy, and it seems like it's holding up okay. I've worn these around a little bit, actually quite a bit. I don't know about you, but whenever I finish a sock, I have to put it on my feet immediately, even if it's just one sock. So yeah, I've been wearing these around. I don't think I did I was just curious what it would look like, and I did a row of purl to kind of make it look like a standard sock. I probably won't ever do that again, but it was kind of fun to try it out this time. So this yarn base is 85% superwash merino and 15% Nips. And I dyed it with avocado peel and then over dyed it with walnut. One of the reasons that I chose this yarn to make socks is to just try out the base but I chose the color that I dyed that I liked the least. And I don't know, it's kind of grown on me. My husband really likes it. I think that I'll use the leftovers to make a sock for him. And so far I really am enjoying the base itself. The color, I see it more as a copper now than just a brown. But I have a couple other skeins that I dyed up in much prettier colors than this. I have a skein that's made of madder and one that's just avocado, I think. So those will be fun to play with. I find myself doing that a lot when I want to go to test the yarn. I'll choose the color that I kind of liked least, just in case I need to destroy it for whatever reason. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about these socks. Very cozy. So right after I finished that last pair of socks that I knit for myself, I went ahead and cast on for another pair of socks, and this is all I have so far. And the yarn is Knit Picks Stroll Tweed. This is going to be a pair of socks for my friend. It's the same friend that I knit a pair of socks for in the last episode. I knit her a thicker pair, and now this is going to be the thinner pair. She's actually the person who designed my logo for me. We do a lot of little odds and ends things for each other and little trades, so I'm really happy to make her a pair of basically whatever she wants. And whenever I make myself a hat and it doesn't quite fit because I got like a big head of hair so I need a hat that's not gonna like smush it down too much, because when I take it off, like, hat hair is like a massive issue. So if I knit hats that are too small, then they go to her because she's got a smaller head than I do. So I am not quite sure what pattern I'm going to use, but I think I want to do something with cables. Though I'm not really sure if the Stroll Tweed is a great yarn for cables, because it isn't super high twist, I don't think. And the yarn is really, really splitty. So it might end up just being a textured sock. I definitely can't do something lacy for her because the whole point is that her feet are warm, so I don't want to have any holes. But I have been kind of wanting to use like a creamy neutral sock for a while, so that's why I chose this. And I'm gonna have to finish it really soon so I can get started on my second sock, because yeah, I'm a little bit behind with a box of socks knit along, which I'm really only casually joining, but I would like to have a lot of new socks for next winter. My second work in progress, I am super excited about. It's my very, very, very first pair of mittens. Hi! I've actually made fingerless mittens. I have tons of those, but I've never made a proper full-on mitten, like with my tips of my fingers covered. And I love the way that this is coming out. Of course, there's lots of flaws and things because I'm pretty new to knit and construction, and I'm really, really new to color work. So, but it's okay. These are the Herdsman mitts, and she recommends a size 2 US 2 needle. I started off with that and it was too big, so I dropped down to US 1s. But with size 1s, I'm getting 10 stitches to the inch across. So, and that seems to be perfect for me. I shortened the cuff. I think it was supposed to be 36 rows and I only did 20. And I did change sort of the color scheme a little bit. I think you're supposed to have like the main background color be over here and over here, and then you're supposed to do 2 different colors for this part. And I just decided to keep the same background color for all of it because I just really like that neutral color. So, and the yarn I'm using is Quince & Co. Finch, and I had a bunch of it left over from the previous 2 sweaters that I've knit for my daughter. the Sweet William sweater and the Intarsia Mountain sweater that I'm calling Happy Mountain sweater. Both of those sweaters called for very, very little yardage of all three of these. So I wanted to use these and I wanted to do something color work, but I wasn't really sure how Finch does as a color work yarn. I've never really used Shetland or any of the awesome toothy color work yarns, but I really like the way that this is turning out. I did have a little bit of trouble with when it came to doing the color works on the increases. I feel like that was just a little bit sloppy and it kind of makes the edges look a little weird in places. And I would say that's especially true on the thumb, especially where I had to start picking up stitches here and then yeah, you can just see that that stitch pattern has kind of broken, especially right here. So that's something to work on. And I especially struggled with keeping the pattern going at the tip of the thumb, especially on this side. But I'm finding more and more about myself that when I'm trying a new technique, I am not so worried about getting it perfect the first time. And then as I go on and get more proficient with something, I feel like I definitely get a little bit more picky about the details. But I'm pretty happy with this. I'm very happy with this. I love it. Also, another thing to mention is I don't really have a good set of DPNs and I don't have fixed circulars. So I really don't have circulars that have a small enough circumference to knit a mitten. So I knit these using Magic Loop, and you can really, really tell on the edges, because when you go to switch from one needle to the other, it pulls that yarn really tight and it basically creates kind of a seam almost throughout the entire mitten. And I'll show you the inside so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. For me, this is not a problem with the mittens because you could even call it a design element, but I really would like to invest in a set of DPNs specifically for color work. And I am open to suggestions for that because I haven't got the slightest clue where to begin. I tend to typically stick with metal needles. I just like them better, but it might be better to have wood needles for color work, just so that, you know, DPNs don't fall off and I don't lose all my stitches. But if you guys have a recommendation for a set of DPNs or something that works really well with color work, please let me know. I would love to know. But this is what I'm talking about so here are the floats and they look great, but then you go to those edges and you can see where the yarn just kind of puckers up the fabric. It creates that seam and that added thickness, which again is not a real problem with the mitts because I don't know, I think it looks nice actually, but it's not really something that I want in anything else that I knit. So yeah, I've always been a really big fan of Magic Loop, but I think that this is definitely one circumstance where it will not work. But yes, I love these. Anyway, I cannot wait to finish the second mitt. I have been knitting on these primarily while watching the Olympics, which figure skating is my jam, though I like it all, honestly. And there were a couple of people on Instagram who didn't know how I could watch the Olympics and knit on color work at the same time, which is a fair question. But, you know, sometimes it gets tense and you want to just kind of like, they just fell 5 times in a row. And you just want to like look down and pay attention to something else. And also there's lots of commercials. And really this kind of color work is pretty easy to do. It's very predictable and you don't really need to look at the chart after a while. So yeah, maybe I'll be able to finish it before the weather warms up again. Okay, so my last work in progress is the Terra Shawl by Jared Flood. And the yarn is the Teeswater base by Gregoria Fibers. I'm loving this yarn and this pattern together. I chose the pattern because I wanted something that would really capitalize on the squish factor. And it's not all garter, but it's enough garter that I'm happy. And there's something about rustic yarn and lace together that I find really, really pretty. I'm probably gonna have to block it pretty hard to open up the lace sufficiently, but I don't think that'll be a problem. And I am almost done. I just finished the last repeat of chart A, and I'm about to get started on part B probably tonight, and I'm hoping that I can finish this by the end of the week. Really, really looking forward to having this off my needles. It has just been a complete joy to knit. It's another good knit for the Olympics, but I usually wait until after my daughter's in bed because I'm not very good at, I don't know, messing up lace and kind of fixing it and continuing on. Like if I were to drop a stitch, I would probably have to rip back or tink back to fix it because I mean, I'm sure I could figure it out, but it would take me a long time, and sometimes it's easier just to tink back. So I tend to try to work on this when I have some space and time to kind of concentrate, and I don't have to like put it down and like mid-row and worry about dropping stitches or anything like that. So I know I could use a lifeline, but have I ever used a lifeline? No. I should though. This would be a really good situation for that. I just dropped a bunch of stitches just a minute ago. As for yardage, the band says there are 200 meters per ball. I have used up almost 2 balls. This is what's left of the second ball, and this is the third ball waiting. Or I guess cake. Yarn cakes. So I think I'm probably gonna have enough of this left over for something. I'm not really sure what I will make with it, but I'm kind of excited. Maybe I'll do a hat or something. I'm really, really excited to finish that shawl. For one, because I want the shawl itself, and also because once I finish this one, I'm going to cast on for another one using this yarn that I just bought from Abundant Earth Fibers. And if you follow me on Instagram, you have seen me talk about this in stories quite a few times. And it's because I can't stop looking at it. This is the Joseph and Annie base, which is 90% US Merino and 10% Washington Targhee. I'm not exactly sure how you say that. I think it's Targhee. Targhee. Joseph and Annie has 2 sort of colorways. There's this one with all the really, really beautiful brown specks. And then the other one is more like, I think it's a more white base with like salt and pepper flakes. Flecks, not flakes. And I've had a bunch of people ask me like, how is the yarn? Like, what does it feel like? And I feel like it's very durable. It's soft. Like I wouldn't have a problem making this into a garment. It's also kind of springy. Kind of reminds me of Finch, Quinsico Finch a little bit in that way. It's got a little bit of a tooth to it, but not the itchy kind. I don't know. That's the best I can do. But I have been really, really wanting to make a shawl. I'm not sure which one yet, but I'll keep you posted. So in regards to botanical dyeing, I really haven't done a whole lot of dyeing in the last 2 weeks, and that's mostly just because I've been doing so much research. I've read several books, I've been scouring the internet, and I've taken some online classes and stuff. I'm just really trying to know more about the subject. I did cut up some cotton fabric. It was organic, undyed cotton. And I stuck it in a bath with black tea because I was curious about the color that would come out, and I was also curious how well black tea would act as a tannin on cellulose. And I'm planning on cutting up some more of this cotton and mordanting it with alum and then also putting it through another black tea bath. So I can have both just the black tea and then also the alum and black tea to kind of do comparison tests with. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how well or how differently both of those preparations absorb. If there's not that much of a difference, then I might just go ahead and continue with the tea, because in our home we have a lot of tea going through. We have green, oolong, and black, and I use those for kombucha. So, you know, we process through the tea quite quickly here. So it's a pretty good resource, kitchen resource for me. So it'll be really interesting to see how that all works out, and I'll definitely share that with you. I have some stuff on the stove right now, but it's all cooking. So I did want to mention, for those of you in my last video who mentioned that you would want me to make it available, some of the things I've been doing, I'm thinking about it. And when I say I'm thinking about it, I mean I'm really thinking about it. I sort of had it in the back of my mind in the past that it might be something that I would want to do if this became something that I really, really enjoyed, and it's definitely an obsession. But with the number of people that have been kind of requesting it lately, I decided that I would really consider it. And I feel like it could definitely be a mutually beneficial thing to open a shop, because for instance, I just make these dye baths for my yarn and now for fabrics, and I feel like I don't really fully exhaust the color potential in the dye bath because I'm kind of limited in how much I can dye, because I really only dye when I've got a project in mind. But if I had a shop going, I feel like I could really, really experiment and kind of use up the color to its full potential. So I just wanted to let you know that I am probably going to open a shop. I don't know, stay tuned in the next video for more information. I'm not sure how quickly it's going to happen, but yeah, I'll keep you updated. Okay, so last but not least, let's talk about the giveaway just a little bit. I really want to do a giveaway for you guys, just to say thank you for being here and chatting with me. I really appreciate all the comments and the feedback. I've been stoked, as I think I mentioned before, about Ravelry. It's been really, really wonderful getting to know all of you and seeing your natural dye experiments and you know, just kitchen experiments and things like that. I'm not proficient with Ravelry yet, but if any of you feel like you want to start threads or whatever in the group, then please feel free. So, but I wanted to do a little giveaway. This is 2 skeins of the Aran Weight Blueface Luster. It's 100 grams, non-superwash, and I dyed it with avocado peel. It's got this kind of it's definitely got the avocado pink thing going on, but it's also kind of got a slightly different kind of orangey shade undertones to it too. I think it's really beautiful. I have 4 skeins of this. I'm keeping 2 for myself, and I thought it would be really fun to give away 2 skeins for someone else. If you would like to win this yarn, then I'm going to open a thread in the group, and I'm going to probably ask some kind of arbitrary question like, what's your favorite movie? I haven't figured out all the details, but I will, as this is uploading, because it takes forever, I will go ahead and set that up in Ravelry, and then I will do a random number generator to pick a winner after, let's say, 2 weeks, or whenever my next video comes up, because whenever my next video comes up, that's when I'll announce the winner. So, yeah. I think that's it for me today, you guys. I did want to say I've kind of restarted my blog. I've been kind of posting about things that I did last year, so it's more of a general overview of what happened, and there's a couple of natural dye posts on madder and avocado colors that I've been able to get, and also I did a post on the very first quilt that I ever made, which is really shoddy, but I love it. So yeah, feel free to check that out if you're interested in learning a little bit more about some of the yarns I've dyed and the quilt that I made. So yeah, that's it for me. I'll see you guys soon, hopefully in about 2 weeks. Bye.